All right. I have not gotten a handle on when it actually kicks on. All right. I put all my stuff in here. So we are gonna get rolling today. This is session number 11. We are in March. We are into double digits. I don't know where Fanny is. Fanny's not here at the moment. Okay. So what I would like to do today, and I was abruptly cut off at the end of my last one, and that's my fault. We'll get into that in a separate video. But I was abruptly cut off at the end of the last one. But basically, what I did is put coats on the sheets that are going to be the toppings. So, what I would like to do today, objectives today are to get the silver trim on the bottom of my pizza slices. Oh, hey, there she is. There she is. I wonder if she hears my voice and thinks I'm talking to her. All right, so I've got my 4 pizza slices ready to trim, and then we're going to add sauce. So we're going to trim and add sauce to these, and then I hope we can also, let me see if anybody, I've got some blades handy in case we need to do any trimming. But first I'm going to brush the excess glitter off, because if you try to apply your trim and embellishments before you have brushed the loose glitter, you're going to glue to the loose glitter and then it's going to just slide off. Let me mess with this a little bit. So you do want to do a good brushing before you apply your trim, your embellishments. That's just a general good housekeeping thing. And as a reminder, I give it a little bit of a, if I have some confetti in there, even 1 millimeter confetti, which is sort of the most chill confetti. Come on, honey bunny. Go to your box. Oh, no, not to the screen, to the box. Even if you're doing 1 millimeter confetti, which is the most chill confetti, into your box, honey bunny. The most chill confetti, you want to give it a little bit of a just extra, loosen it up. Because the brush will take off any loose, ultra fine, or extra fine. But a little bit of extra friction helps once you're getting into larger pieces. The brush alone probably won't do it. What you doing, Goober? You gonna go down to the floor and hang out? I'll turn the dehydrator on for you. Dehydrator slash fanny warmer. What you doing? She's exploring. Mm. There's a bunch of projects I'm working on. Very exciting stuff. But I want to make sure we keep rolling on our marathon, because slow and steady is going to win the race there. Okay, so my silver, my excess silver goes in there. My fanny girl. Good girl. All right, so we still have some, but they got discontinued sadly. But we have this thin gimp trim that we sell at Craft Culture. And I do think the ones I'm using this month, the silver and the powder blue, we do still have. But we also have regular gimp trim by the yard. And I think, I want to say, let me see if I can eyeball a yard. I was saying, wouldn't it be cool if I actually measured stuff and gave y'all like measurements to work with? But that might be pie in the sky. So one shoe, that's probably more than half a yard, but less than a yard. So if you do a yard per shoe, that should be plenty. And as a reminder I'm sorry, baby girl. As a reminder on the pizza shoe, you're only doing the lower edge. I don't put any trim on top of the crust, but I am going to trim this edge. Okay, so my glue gun is hot. I have a few spots where my crust is just a little bit spilling too far over the edge, and it's going to kind of, and I'll touch that up later. But I want to make sure my trim can actually go all the way around, so I'm going to shave down where I need to shave down and touch it up after the fact. It would probably be slightly tidier to glitter it, let it dry, and then do the trim, but I don't want to add a whole other session to the marathon just for that. So we're going to compromise a little bit. So I trimmed those down and I'll tidy them up. All right, got my hot glue gun, my Sure Bonder ready to roll. So we're going to trim the lower edge. I start in the back. And I just glue down trim all along the edge. If you're using GIMP, which is my recommendation, I like a light silver GIMP. And by light, I mean sort of thin, like 3/8 of an inch, rather than getting up to like more like half an inch. If you're using sequence, I would recommend E6000. E6000, you should let it set up like overnight before you move on to next steps. Hot glue is ready to move on as soon as it cools off, and it cools pretty quick. And I'm doing a slightly longer line of hot glue than I would recommend for newer crafters. If you're new, do like an inch and then place your trim, because your hot glue won't be able to hold as it cools off. I wonder if we should have sauced before we trimmed. Let's try it out and see how we feel. Oh yeah, we should probably sauce. Yeah, we should probably sauce and cheese before we trim. I have made so many of these, but it's making me think about it a little harder to do it in this format, which is very cool. Mhm. Hi. Huh. Yeah, I think now that I'm looking at it, in my head, I was like, oh, we'll do the sauce on top of the trim, but I probably want the trim to sit on top of the sauce. So we'll go ahead and carry on with this one, but I'm going to have to change the instructions. I have on my Patreon, because I'm using it as a spot to organize my thoughts. I have put together the like step by step. So I think I'm going to change that, but that's fine. It's okay to change it. All right. So I trimmed her all the way around, but now that I'm looking at it, I think I'm going to have that pizza sauce go all the way to the edge. So probably I want to do that first. I probably want the trim to, if I now put the sauce in, it's going to be hard to have it go all the way to the edge. So I probably won't have it go all the way to the edge on this one. I'll probably hug the edge, but not go all the way in. But on the others, I'll go ahead and sauce them first. So I'm gonna trim my crust a little bit. That's not essential, but I think it's going to make everything a little smoother. Everywhere I think I'm going to be putting trim, I make sure it's kind of going to lie flat. But the GIMP is very cooperative. So if you have spots where the GIMP has to kind of climb some hills and dip in some valleys, it's gonna. She looks good. She looks pretty good, but I'm going to trim her just a smidge. Again, this is not necessary. It's just makes it a little tidier. It's entirely up to you where your balance is between every little detail and good enough for a carnival throw. All right, so she is trimmed. We have got our glue mixed from last week. I would like a little brush for this. Little brush. I keep my brushes in water usually, or directly in the glue inside the bag. And then I dry them off when I'm ready to use them. Glue, glue. Let me set aside my hot glue gun. Let me get my scratch paper, get my workspace clean, and then there's my pizza sauce. And as a reminder, at the start of the session, I just married a whole bunch of mostly clean, slightly contaminated. All right. So now I'm going to add the sauce, and I'm going to kind of glob it on like this because I want it to sort of look splotchy. And make sure you leave a little bit of your dough visible. Don't put any pizza sauce on the crust, obviously. And then this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to go all the way down to the edge here because I think that makes more sense. but I'll do the one that I already trimmed and we'll see how we feel about that. All right. So y'all see how I did that kind of splotchy and like not really super even all the way around? I kind of am imagining them saucing it quick. And so you wouldn't have like the edge looking a little bit splotchy is kind of the point. So I'm gonna put my pizza sauce, and what's great about the pizza is it uses up things that are slightly contaminated, because if there's a little fleck of some other stuff in my sauce, that was just, a little herb or spice or something that got in there. All right. So that's ready to go. Or ready to, not ready to go, ready to dry. What we will do next, once this is dry, is we will layer some cheese on top of that. And I'll show y'all how we do that. But that's ready to dry. Set her aside. Yeah, I can see a few little specks of some other confettis in here, but they do not bother me because I'm using them for pizza. If I were doing like a ruby slipper or or like the classic red Muses shoe, I probably wouldn't want to do this red. She's fine for a base coat and she's fine for sauce. Don't do it too hard because you don't want to like damage your bristles, but little splotchies. Little splotchies all around, but not right up to the crust. Leave some dough visible. What's nice about doing batches is sometimes you figure out little changes you want to make to the order of operations, sort of in the heat of the moment, where it's like, oh, wait, actually, I do want to put the sauce and then the cheese and then do the trim, and then I'll do the toppings last. All right, 1, 2. And since I trimmed those down, normally I would say let your colors completely dry before you change colors. These are 2 little bits, and I don't mind if I get a little bit of tomato sauce colored glitter into my crust or vice versa. But I am going to go ahead and touch those up now because, as I mentioned, it's a little bit tightier. But I need to be careful holding because I feel where I smudged. This is why I always say it's very important to leave yourself a handle, because you are going to have to kind of twist and turn your shoe around a little bit. All right. So she's good to go. And by good to go, I mean ready to dry. My silver is so chrome that I notice it's reflecting stuff. So I picked it up to put it down, and like it reflected the black of my top. And I was like, oh my God, I missed a spot. And I didn't. It's just so chrome shiny that it's a mirror. So that's kind of cool. Yep. That's neat. Love that. Okay. I'm going to do, so this one is the one that I already put the trim on. So I am going to have to be careful with my blotches. Let's see how this works out. Yeah. I don't want the glitter to eat into, like, to bleed over into the trim too much. Gonna have to do it a little bit though. Well, lesson learned. It's still fine, but ever optimizing. It's just gonna look as though the sauce kind of poured onto the server a little bit as opposed to slipping the server. And I looked it up. I was Googling, like, what do you call the utensil that the wedge utensil that it's just called a pizza server, according to the internet. So that's what we're going to go with, I guess. So yeah, I would prefer the server be like a clean edge underneath the slice, but I guess this one was really saucy and we scooped our slice up on the server and the sauce went on the server a little bit. That's not a big deal. I'm having to cut in a little more carefully because I don't want it to like totally swallow up my trim, but that's all right. I think that's the right call though. I think probably sauce, cheese, trim, toppings. The difficulty too with shoes is like I do repeat designs, but I feel like I forget the things that I learned. It'll be good. I can, anytime I do any of these, I can kind of look back and be like, yeah, that was a dramatic reenactment of me watching my own videos sped up to remind myself of the process. All right, so that's fine. I'm not bothered by the sauce on the trim, but it's not my number one preference, so I will do it differently going forward. Live and learn. And then again, I'm going to touch up my crust a little. Normally, I would recommend that you not switch colors in a single wet coat of glue, but since the cross contamination of these two colors isn't a big deal design wise, I'm not that worried about it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, saucy girls. One last girl to sauce, and then we will work on our Poboys. Blotch, blotch, blotch. And so earlier I didn't bring the gold all the way down to the tip. I did the crust, and I did a little bit of touch up underneath the crust to make sure it was nice and golden. But because the tip of the toe is getting sauced, I'm not as concerned about getting the baked with love all the way down to the tippy toe because I know I'm going to cover it up. And I'm going to do a single coat of sauce rather than 2 coats. I know I said I always do 2 coats of glitter. On this, I'm just doing a single coat. The reason for that is a single coat might have some bald spots and might have some thin spots where the coat underneath shows through. That's fine. That's just going to look like a spot where the pizza sauce was a little thinner and you're seeing the dough. So if I get any, I'm fine with it. So I always do 2 coats except when I don't. Follow me for more tips. All right. So my slightly contaminated pizza sauce red is good to go. It takes very, very little. But I, of course, am doing a bunch more of these, so I will continue to do those, but I'm not doing those as part of my marathon. Though I do think I want to have some sessions where I work on other projects besides this one. Wow. And, I'm going to figure out how much of that I want to be. Do I want to pull the trim off that and redo them so that they're all consistent? No, she's fine. She's fine. Okay. So last session, we got started on these are going to be my flip flop po' boys. They're already very cute. I got my 2 slices of bread here. Cuties. So I believe I did, yes, I believe I did the lollipop. That was session 1 of this shoe design. I stuck the flip flop on a skewer, glittered it all the way around, and put it in a vase with weight in it so that it could dry. And then the second session, I did just this. So what I'm going to do today on these is the exterior. So the top of the top and the bottom of the bottom. And then those will be ready to serve their bread destiny. Good sentence, that one. All right. So when the brush comes out of the water, you do want to dry it off a little bit. Otherwise, it dilutes your glue. So now that I've done the side, I can hold by the side and just do the top. And it's looking pretty good. The Aleene's Mod Podge mixture is, for me, holding nicely even on that kind of rubbery flip-flop surface. I would not want to bend it or anything. I would not want to throw it against the wall for so many reasons. And it's hard to get underneath the strap. It's a very weird, the sort of curvy strap of the flip-flop is very weird. But we can do weird things. Okay, okay. All right. Glue, glitter, and we keep it rolling. And so, as I mentioned in previous sessions, today is the day of exceptions to the 2-coat rule, I guess. I always do 2 coats of glitter, but on these, because I'm making sandwiches with these, let me just make sure I got every nook and cranny, every little bit, though a touch-up is not the end of the world. All right, she's nice and glittered. I will put her in my dehydrator, my fanny warmer. Oh, I probably shouldn't call it that. So s since these are slices of bread, they are going to have fillings put in the middle like that. You can kind of, I'm spacing where the shrimps will be and the lettuce and the tomato and the mayonnaise and the hot sauce. Since they're going to be like that, I do not do a second coat on there. I want it glittered so that if there's a spot where there isn't mayonnaise or hot sauce or whatever, I don't have the like pink or gray flip-flop showing through. So I do 1 coat, but that's a small enough detail. Nobody's ever going to see it. Sometimes it's like, let's do it just in case. And sometimes I'm like, that's a waste of your time. And you will have a much better sense personally of which one of those things it is. One person's, oh my God, I would never waste the time to do that, is another person's, yeah, but that's an important detail. So you do you. I do 1 coat over everything in the flip-flop lollipop configuration. Then I do the side, and then I do just the top. And that's all the glitter that my slices of bread need for my purposes and my priorities. Okay, flip-flop. I made some jars of the everything bagel seasoning in rhinestones, and I could pick the sesame seeds out of that for my slices of bread. I think that would be funny. I think that would be pretty great. Otherwise, I've got like some confetti I could maybe use, or I could use some just plain white crystal dots. I don't know. I'm going to play around with it a little bit. It's been a while since I did a flip-flop po' boy. I think my last flip-flop po' boy was when I was still living in Memphis. Okay, so that one's done. Into the dehydrator it goes with its little friend. So now, let me make sure I have the orientation. So now I'm going to do the bottom of the bottom slice of bread. So only the surface that's going to be showing gets a second coat and really showing. You might see a little bit, and you'll see when we assemble it what I'm talking about. And I'll be like, see, remember I said that we were going to bury this beneath all the lovely toppings and stuff. I am trying with my glue to kind of fill in the little divots. Not a huge thing, but I do kind of want them filled. I'm not super bothered by it because it's a flip-flop. I noticed that my glue kind of ran over my edge a little bit, so I just smoothed that over and then put some fresh put some fresh glitter on that glue. Not essential, some little bumps and crannies. As I mentioned last time, I'm pretty sure when they're slicing I'm sure they're doing a great job, but I'm sure in the po' boy shops, they aren't in there with scalpels and laser cutting perfect edges. I think they're slicing the bread and rolling out. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. And last one. Well, last one of this pair, and then we'll work on our hamburger because I'm doing some kind of I was when I first started doing the sandwiches, I just started listing sandwiches like you could do a BLT, you could do a PBJ, you could do PBJ would be really cute. Focus. You could do a lot of things. So I'm doing a couple of those a lot of things. Not every single idea ever. I'm gonna do a muffalata. My friend Jamie did the original muffalata flip flop. I try really hard to give credit where I can. We all kind of look at each other's stuff and get ideas, and it sort of witches brews into, oh, I'm going to do this way, the way she did. I like that she did this, but I'm going to do his idea on this. So we all do that, but I also, it's important to give recognition wherever you can. And so I'm trying to do that. So the muffalata originally, the flip flop muffalata was originally Jamie's. What am I sitting on? Oh, nice. I'm sitting on the slice of, all right. So this is so far the muffalata, and it's obviously not very far along at all. I did not, when I was doing all my lollipops, I didn't do the bottom slice of bread on my muffalata. I did her a little more slapdash, so she's still in progress. But I did start working on the cheeseburger, and I think it's kind of looking funny. I'm going to carry on and see how she looks with her lettuce and tomatoes and pickles and stuff. So she needs a top coat of gold on her bread. Oh, yeah, I did the side. And one of the nice things about the flip flop lollipop method is I can check the hole in the back where I stuck the skewer and know if I've done the sides or not. So like I've done the sides on her, but I haven't done the side on this one yet. Just a little helpful, little, we all need some helpful reminders. Part of the reason I love the confetti technique so much is because it helps me know if I've done one coat or two. When I'm working like this and I'm in here every couple of days, kind of trucking along, and I've got the pipeline pretty clearly defined on my brain pan, it's a little bit easier to be like, okay, I know that all of that those four girls have only gotten their first coat, their top coat. And I was rewatching some of my old videos to see if there was stuff I needed to tweak. And I do notice, and I comment on this, I interchangeably say top coat, meaning first coat or the coat that is on top. So I apologize if that's confusing. I'm going to try to be more consistent. So I sometimes say top coat, meaning the coat that I apply first, the coat that goes on top of the shoe. But then I also sometimes say top coat, meaning the coat that sits on top. And so I'm working on that. Sorry about that. But that is a second coat. But I like that the confetti technique makes it easy for me. Even if I've put it down for a bit and I don't 100% remember exactly what I was doing, and by don't 100% remember exactly what I was doing, I mean I have absolutely no flipping idea what I was doing. That was how the reason I originally started my blog a million years ago was for me. I needed the notebook because I would start something and put it down and go do something else and then come back and be like, what was the plan here? What color was this? Why I have this trim here, but I don't remember what my vision was. So my hamburger, the second coat, the final coat. That's the other thing is top coat is kind of dependent on, and I can see my hole is my divot from my skewer is glittered, so I know I did the side of this already. Mhm. And I check to see the orientation and do the surface that is going to be on the bottom, the exterior surface, if you will. The top of the top, the bottom of the bottom. The sides that show are the ones that get their second coat. And you do have to kind of keep track of it. It's a little bit of a, a very simple puzzle, but kind of a little bit of a puzzle nonetheless. Okay. Check that my edge isn't goopy. Don't want a goopy edge. All right. So all of my slices of bread are done. My two let's all of my slices of bread are done. Two flip flop po' boys, and then we're working on a flip flop hamburger. And I'm gonna work on this a little bit. My muffaletta, even though it's not kind of part of the marathon itself, I'm gonna, while I have the color glitter out, I'm gonna work on it a little. So I did not lollipop these, and that's on me. I was kind of going quick and trying to figure out what orientation I wanted. Because like I said, it's a little bit of a puzzle, and the more layers you put in, the more complicated the puzzle becomes. Oh, and that reminds me, I wanted to look up the designer who did maybe I'll post some pictures on I mentioned that on my Patreon, I want to like do longer, more involved process posts where I'm like, this is what I did based on this. And like, I think that would be kind of interesting to keep track of. All right. Okay. So this one I'm not doing as efficiently. I didn't lollipop it. And I guess I could stick the lollipops in there, but it's harder to, it's easy to balance a nice big bouquet of them. It's a little tougher to balance a few of them. Tougher doesn't mean you can't do it, but I'm going to do this slightly inefficiently. And that's worth noting that even the slightly inefficient method is still fine. It takes longer to get it done than if I lollipopped it. The other thing is these shoes are slightly bigger. The lollipop is a little bit easier, on a smaller shoe. If I lollipop a bigger shoe, it tends to kind of bend a little. So that's another reason to try to do smaller coats if you can. I might just lollipop her. Well, she's a little big. All right, I'm going to do it inefficiently, like I said before. So the inefficient way is one side, dry, other side, dry, edge. So a flip-flop basically has three surfaces: the top, the bottom, and the ribbon that goes around the side, if you will. Okay, we're doing good. We're doing good. I probably won't do coats on all my muffaletta. I guess I could. We'll see. We'll see what I do. I'm not going to commit to anything on the muffalettas because I want my marathon sessions to be, maybe not perfectly streamlined, but at least sort of logically consistent. All right. Working through the 8 ounces of Baked with Love. Granted, I did a ton of pizza shoes, but working through it. Sometimes I get a big old thing of glitter and I'm like, oh, I'm never going to run out. I never learn. All right. So for my cheeseburger, I'm using the butterscotch velvet. And we're going to start by we've done one coat on everything. We're going to do the side. And right now you can see the gray of the flip-flop through the yellow a little. The velvets are nice and high cover though. By the time we get to 2 coats, you won't see that. And you could like cut yourself. I'm doing it a little stylized. I'm doing the stack as opposed to like making a slice of cheese out of craft foam or like melting it with hot glue or whatever. I am doing that, but I think it'll read. I think it'll read as sort of an artistic. We'll see. We'll see if it reads. It's an interpretation, I'm not literally making a statue of a burger. I am not that there's anything wrong with doing it very literally, but I am doing an artistic interpretation, so I'm giving myself a little bit of leeway. All right, cheese all around. You can already see, maybe you can already see, depending on the lighting, you can already see that the yellow on the side is really nice and bright. I'm not seeing the gray flip-flop at all. Hamburger. I am going to go ahead and this is going to be the cheese on the muffaletta, the like provolone. And what I'm doing, because my flip-flop has this dark pattern of flamingos on it, I could paint it, but I'm a little bit nervous to put paint directly onto this kind of water resistant surface. So what I'm going to do is give it the butterscotch velvet first and layer a coat of my cheese color on top of it. My thinking is that that's going to look perfect, but we're going to find out together. I might do it and go, oh, whoops, nope, bad idea. Back to the drawing board. We're going to have to paint one, and then we'll probably do a little bit of nail polish. I wanted to say nail varnish remover and nail polish remover, and so I said nail polish. So we might have to do a little nail polish remover on if we're going to paint, but my thought is that the butterscotch velvet will do enough cover and give it just kind of a yellow quality when we layer our yellow on top. Stay tuned. We're going to find out. Okay. So let me go ahead and so on my olive salad, I'm going to do a heavy coat of confetti, but we aren't there yet. So right now I'm just making this kind of a dark olive green. I used, I think, streetcar. You could use streetcar, you could use envy, you could probably use just about any green in your stash because olive salad is a mix of colors. And I will tell y'all, we had this as a kit, but I personally did not get my act together fast enough to buy one of the kits. My belief is that we will restock it. We try to restock all our kits, but we are a little local small business, and so we're doing the best we can with our human bodies. So my sense is that we will restock the muffaletta kit, but time will tell. So I'm going to show y'all kind of, I think I have, I'm going to show y'all what it would look like if you were doing this without the kit. The kit is, I think, objectively better, but also it's worth maybe kind of figuring some a la carte stuff out to make it work. So I will show you guys that. But for now, I'm just making a base for my olive salad layer that I did streetcar. So I put streetcar on there, but you use whatever green you got. I can't imagine, I mean, whatever opaque green you have. So you could use green car, you could use streetcar, green card, you could use streetcar, you could do envie, you could do absinthe hallucinations, you could do backyard lizard. What are all our greens? Trees of green, Weller and grass stains. Any of those would make a good olive salad base if you were doing this shoe design that I'm kind of figuring out as we go. I am using a little mix of rose golds that I've got. If you were buying a cured meat color, you could use Tenise's blush. That's a good rose gold. You could use Fancy a Cuppa would probably work. It's a little bit more coppery. Salmon Party Upstream is good. It's got a little bit of holographic in there. Not a little bit. It's got a fair amount of holographic in there. But those would all work. It's a blend in the kit. So I don't know what would work exactly for you, but those would kind of be my recommendations. You could use Millennial Pink, but that's got a little bit of a silver tone quality to it. That's a little bit gray. So your meat might not look as appetizing if you use a slightly grayer pink. It's very pretty and it's very like architectural, but it's maybe not a good meat color. I think you want a little warm. I wouldn't go all the way into like rosé colored glasses because I think that's just too pink. That's going to look a little bit too pink. But I'll take a peek at the shop today and get what my actual recommendation is for if you're buying new. And again, I've been putting posts on my Patreon that organize like the shopping list and have links. A lot of things are listed as sold out on the website right now. That's just because we're coming off of Carnival. We will restock and we will get the website spruced up just as fast as we can. All right. Did my olive layer, did my meat layer, did all the bread. Last thing to do is the hamburger patty. And I can see that my divot has not been glittered, so I know that I need to do the side. That's just wherever I can give myself a little help. That's good. So we will finish this up, and then we will work on our powder blue velvet chiffon pretty babies, because those are coming along. That's a nice simple, a monochrome shoe just goes a little faster than any other type of shoe. So do not be ashamed to have some monochrome shoes in the mix. And I am doing 2 coats of ultrafine. I'm using Bittersweet Symphony. I think that's it's a good chocolate brown. It's a good sort of polished wood table brown. We called it Bittersweet Symphony because it kind of has that both that polished wood quality, like a polished instrument, wooden instrument, but also it has that chocolate quality. So Bittersweet Symphony sounded perfect to us. The names, it's always a process and very fun. We have so many glitters at Craft Culture. We never want it to be like, oh, was it light blue or was it medium blue? We want it to be really distinctive. So we give them really distinctive names. So you can be like, wait, was it neon pink or was it hot pink? Nope, it was dumpster fire hot pink. And that one is, we also have these really cool bright pink dumpsters in New Orleans. So that works on a lot. We like them to work on a lot of levels and we sometimes overthink them to um, a hopefully charming degree. All right. So all my flip flops are done. Let me clean my space a little bit. Lids go back on their jars, but I'm going to keep them on my workspace for now. Pizza sauce can go over there because I'm going to do my other pizza sauces, my extracurricular pizzas, if you will. Got some little bits of trash to go into the trash. I don't know where the lid went on my Big Baked with Love, but that's okay. Mm. It'll turn up. Mhm. Y'all bear with me for just a moment. Okie dokie. We do still need to work on toppings, but we've still got a little time on that. Somebody commented that it's fascinating to see how much goes into even a simple shoe. And it's true. When you commit to kind of showing all the steps, it makes me it's totally doable to get your shoes done, but it is a labor of love. It does take a lot of work and energy and commitment. So when you go out there and try to catch stuff, I hope you have an appreciation for that. All right. So this is the one we did last time. Where's my glitter? I'm not going to start glittering without my glitter. I mean, I'm not going to put the glue on there without the glitter. Did I put it in a safe place? Kind of got a lot of projects out, but that makes it a little tougher for me to find my stuff. We might not be able to do this today because I might need to reorganize and get my ducks in a row because I don't see my wave velvet at the moment. Sometimes when I've got too many projects going, not too many. Sometimes when I have a lot of projects going and I have like wet shoes everywhere, I'm like, okay, now's a moment to just let everything dry and then we'll reset. Okay, I see my confetti, so maybe not. So this is what I'm talking about. When you brush the ultrafine off the confetti pops back out. And I am going to take some loose pieces off. I'm going to lose some pieces and that's okay. Because if they come off when I rub them, they were always going to come off, and I don't want anybody dealing with that. But I really do like the water lilies. I think that's very pretty. Just gives it a really pretty, just gives it kind of a little pop. You'll see those little flakes floating like little water lilies in the pond. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, so I see my confetti. Uh, There's my confetti, but where is my glitter? Ah, okay. We're good to go. And as I work, I'm going to have this kind of mix of confetti and ultrafine. I can use that on these because it's not going to cross contaminate itself. The velvets are very powdery, so when you brush them, you're going to get a lot of. People sometimes call some of our glitters, they're like, that one's really fluffy, meaning like it floats around, it's light. It's a sign of a very good quality glitter, is that fluffy. A heavier glitter is cut from a thicker plastic and just won't handle as beautifully. All right, so she has gotten her top coat done. So I'm going to do her bottom. And okay, she does sit like that, so I can do her sole and her heel. Mhm. And then we're probably at that thing I was talking about where it's like, oh, we maybe need to let some things dry so that we can move stuff around. Because as you're going, you're kind of setting wet stuff down wherever. But probably we need a minute to let everybody percolate. Nothing wrong with that. And also, this was a good session. We got our bread finished in terms of the glittering, all the glitter done on our bread slices. We got a little bit of progress on the fillings. We got 4 slices of pizza sauced, one of them trimmed, kind of. That's what happens. So I would use my mix on the sole so that I don't waste it. Oh, I said I was going to get a, looking at the mix together reminds me that I said I was going to get a filter at the shop, and I need to do that. I'll do that today. So it's not ideal to use confetti and glitter mixed together, but on the sole of the shoe, it's a little more forgiving. So that's what I'm doing. Beautiful. Pretty, pretty. Pretty powder blue girl. And so I have some trim options for these. We'll get to that. Oh, I guess next session we can trim her, or we probably want to trim them all together. So 2 sessions from now. So she has only gotten she has only gotten glitter, 1 coat of glitter everywhere. So she needs her. And if I was going to do a different color inside the shoe versus outside the shoe, I would need to do that in multiple steps. So if she was going to be pink on one, pink on the outside and blue on the inside, I would need to do 1 coat, let it dry, and then the other color, because if you switch colors while the glue's still wet, you're going to get crosstalk and it's just not going to be as pretty, and your glitter might get contaminated. So I'm doing the top, there I go again. I'm doing the second coat. The only time that the difference between like second coat and final coat becomes an issue is occasionally on a semi-sheer, occasionally for a very heavy confetti coat. Very occasionally I will do 3 coats. That is a rarity, but occasionally I do. So for the most part, when I say final coat, I mean the second coat, but I will try to be specific. Because if the point is to be educational, I want it to be, the communication to be clear. So far we're doing pretty good in terms of our pacing. Pace has been, I've been in here probably more than I'm going. The pace I am currently maintaining probably is a little bit more frequent than I'm going to ultimately be able to do, but I'm trying to set a sustainable pace. And also sometimes you're a little bit more in the zone, and so you get a little bit more done. So coming off of February, my post-carnival blues kind of motivated me. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of water lilies, which is the name of the confetti, because it's all the pretty pastels, and a little bit of green for the leaves, and some pieces of an ice blue kind of shredded texture. And that sort of makes it look watery, like an impressionist painting. Water lilies is, I loved the fine artists, but water lilies was really beautiful. Some really beautiful confettis in that series that you can do a lot with. Thanks. And back in she goes. Okay, just a little sprinkle to give her a little bit of extra personality. Though I might do one just straight blue to show y'all kind of what it looks like without, so you have something to compare to. It makes it a little bit more complicated from a glitter perspective to not have them all be the same, but as I mentioned, part of the fun of doing batches is that you can do side by side comparisons, and that I think really that's a great way to progress as an artist. All right, perfect. We're going to be right at about an hour, so I think that's perfect. Mm. So this is my final coat of glitter with a little confetti layered in. As a reminder, we do not layer confetti in on first coats. If it's going to get covered up, we don't layer confetti in. It will make it harder for our final coat to stick, and it won't show. So it wastes time and it wastes confetti, and we don't like to waste. Glitter, not litter. Okay. Mhm. There we go. Gonna set her down to dry. I'm actually probably gonna set her up here. And then I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'll do out of my set of three, I'll do two of them with the water lilies confetti, which I think is the move. I think that's my preference. But I'll do one of plain wave velvet on its own so you can see kind of what the powder blue looks like without any confetti mixed in. Oh, and maybe she'll be my, I need to remake all the demo shoes at the shop. Gets me every year. Though I prefer to have the wave demos be black shoes because I think that really shows how high cover they are. And this was just a beige shoe. Not just a beige shoe. This was a beige shoe, so it wasn't as challenging to cover it. So we'll see. Maybe she'll be my demo shoe. Maybe I need to go through my stash and see what I have in terms of black shoes because the velvet shoes also need to be smooth. I can't grab a black shoe that has any texturing in it because the velvets reveal every little bit of texture. Mhm. Okay. On my final coat, the coat that I put on second, I do want to be a little bit more mindful, a little bit more careful. I want to get that coat on there pretty smooth. I want to check that I'm not missing any spots. First coat, and I'm sure you'll notice this if you've hung out with me and watched me glitter on these videos before. First coat, I really slap it on there. I'm really not worried about much of anything. When I do the final coat, I do try to get it smooth, especially with the velvets, because the velvets are so smooth. So you really want your, and I will say a question I get reasonably frequently is I feel like my glue is streaky. If that's a problem for you, I would recommend going up a brush size. We specifically sell the 1-inch glue brushes at Craft Culture because I think that's a really good, versatile size. But if you have multiple sizes in your stash, that's the 1-inch that we sell at Craft Culture. You could try going up a bit. So if you're not going up above this is probably it's gonna be hard to go above 1 inch, but if the brush you're using is less than 1 inch, give a wider brush a shot. You might get less streaking. You might not, but it's something to try. It's an easy change to make that might give you smoother glue strokes. So yeah, I am going to, anywhere I see the glue looking kind of gloppy, I'm kind of removing it with my brush. Nice and smooth, nice and even. Looking for spots that are uneven, looking for spots that are a little too thick or a little too thin and evening it all out. And I could do this forever, but at a certain point in time, you gotta call it good enough. And the glue will smooth out as it dries. Okay, nice smooth coat. Y'all see how nice and even that white glue is? So because I have a little bit of, I've been using this with the water lilies. I do have a couple flakes of water lilies in my ultrafine. So what I will sometimes do when that's the case, if you tap it, the big flakes will come to the top, and kind of shake it and tap it, shake it. Yeah. So I can see a couple of flakes at the top. So give it a shake to bring the flakes to the top. When you see them at the top, you can pour that top out. And that way you aren't wasting it, but you aren't getting as many flakes in your ultrafine. Oh, it's so pretty. The velvets are really fun. It's just fun to add new stuff, but the velvets have been a good time. And I have my little tweezers here, so if a few little flakes escaped me, I'll just tweeze them off. No problemo. But she looks pretty good. I had a few flakes in there, but she looks pretty good. Boop. And that is part of why it's easier to work in a batch. If I were just doing 3 shoes that were all getting the same glitter and confetti combo, a few specks of confetti in the glitter would not bother me at all because I'm going to add the confetti anyway. So a 2-ounce jar should be plenty to completely cover, unless they're huge. If we're getting into like boots or like really big stripper shoes or like drag queen shoes or drag stripper boots, you are going to have more surface area to cover. Oh, that's very pretty. Uh, I'm looking for any spots where, where's my tweezers? I said I have my tweezers and then I don't. I'm a liar. Yeah, it's probably time to do a reset of the space because I notice I'm having some difficulties finding things. That's a sign. So I'm just using this. I prefer my tweezers, but this will be fine. Pretty clean though. And it does not need to be immaculate, but boop boop. Ba-doop, ba-doop. Might as well get it clean, especially if she's going to be a demo, which is a maybe. All right, nice and clean, even coat. I do prefer the confetti in there because I think it's a little more fun and a little more interesting. But that's kind of what they look like. That's just powder blue on its own. That's powder blue with a little bit of confetti in it. And then we'll let those dry. The first one we did, she'll be done when she's dry because she was a little bit leapfrogged ahead of her 2 sisters here. So when she's dry, she will get trim. I'm going to use this powder blue trim from Craft Culture. It's a 10-yard roll of powder blue. So I think that's going to go really nicely. And then I'm going to put my powder blue chiffon flowers on here, and then we'll letter them, and then we're done with those. So I know that sounds, I'm like, oh, I keep doing that. I'm like, all right, next step is this, 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 and this, and then that's it. But we keep on progressing, we keep on rolling. So we are right at an hour, so that shook out perfectly. So I'm going to let everything dry. I'm going to reorganize a little bit, and then next time we will put cheese on our pizzas. We will probably finish up our pizza fillings, and we need to start making our shrimps for our po' boys. And our lettuce is going to be, I'll show you how I do lettuce. I'm going to just use tinsel, garland, and then we'll start working on our tomatoes. So I need to buy my lemon slices at the glitter store. So I need to get a strainer and I need to get lemon slices. That's my shopping list for today. Thank you all for joining me. Hope everybody's having a lovely March. I hope daylight